this class we can study about issues in the construction of an index number. Then the following are the issues in constructing index number. First one, you need to be clear about the purpose of the index. Calculation of volume of index will be inappropriate when one needs a value index. Then we should be clear about purpose of index. Okay. Then sometimes volume index will be inappropriate. Okay. Next one, besides this, items are not equally important for different groups of consumers when a consumer price index is constructed. Okay. The rise in petrol price may not directly impact the living condition of poor agricultural laborers. Thus the item to be included in any index have to be selected carefully to be as a representative as possible. Okay. Then some items are not equally important for all the consumers. Okay. Then we know normally rise in petrol will not affect all the people. Then these items are carefully need to include in this index. Okay. Then every index should have a base year. This base year should be as normal as possible. We need to take a normal base year. Otherwise we know sometimes some years, especially if you are taking 2020, that year is we know due to corona some lockdown was there. That year is not a normal year. Okay. Then we need to include normal year as base year. The comparison between, if we are taking the comparison between 1993 and 2005 is much more meaningful than comparison between 1960 and 2005. We need to compare like that. Okay. If we are going for 1960, it is a not normal comparison. Many items in a 1960 typical consumption basket have disappeared at present. Okay. We know 1960 people were using another item. In 2017 people are using another item. Okay. Then another issue is the choice of formula, which depends on the nature of question to be studied. The only difference between last year's index and past year's index is the weight used in this formula. We know last year's index is there, past year's index is there. In that one, weight, we are using weight. Okay, we are using W there. Then we need to consider that one also. Okay. Then besides, there are many sources of data with different degrees of reliability. Data of poor reliability will give misleading results. Hence due care should be taken in the collection of data. If primary data are not being used, then the most reliable source of secondary data should be chosen. If primary data is not being used, then reliable secondary data need to use. Okay. Then poor reliability of data is another factor. Okay. Then these are the issues in constructing index number. Then we know different index numbers are there: wholesale price index number, industrial production index number, consumer price index number, like that different index numbers are there. Consumer index number or cost of living index numbers are helpful in wage negotiation. Then formulation of income policy, price policy, rent control, taxation. For all these purpose we need consumer price index. The next one is wholesale price index. Wholesale price index is used to eliminate the effect of changes in prices aggregates such as national income, capital formation, etc. The WPI widely used measures the rate of inflation. Inflation is a general and continuing increase in price. If inflation becomes sufficiently large, money may lose traditional function as a medium of exchange. Okay. Then so large industrial number. Okay. we know points. An index number is a statistical device for a measuring relative change in a large number of items. There are several formula for working out an index number, and every formula needs to be interpreted carefully. The choice of formula largely depends on the question of interest, and widely used index numbers are wholesale price index, consumer price index, and index of industrial production. Then index number is widely using in wholesale price index, consumer price index, industrial production, agricultural production, and Sensex. That one is the use of index number. Okay. Then here you can see some question. An index number which accounts for the relative importance of the items is known as, answer is weighted index number. Okay, answer is weighted index number. Okay, then in most of the weighted index numbers, the weight pertains to base year. Okay, weight index numbers, weight pertains to base year. Okay, the impact of change in the price of a commodity with a little weight in the index numbers will be small. Next one, little weight, the reason index numbers will be small. A consumer price index measures changes in retail price. Consumer price means normally it's retail price. Okay, the item having the highest weight in the consumer price index for industrial worker is food. Okay, next one, in general inflation is calculated by using wholesale price index, inflation by wholesale price index. Next one, why do we need an index number? Okay, then why we need index number? To measure change in the price level, to study change in the standard of living, useful in planning and decision making, to determine the level of production, to help government in framing the policy. These are the main purpose of index numbers. Next one, what are the desirable properties of base periods? We know what are the basic rules for this base year. The base year should not be either too short or too long. That is the first condition. The base year should not be too near, too far. That is the another condition. The base year should be so selected that the data for the same should be available. Means the base year should be selected that the data for the same should be available. Next one, the base period should be constantly updated because to the changes in taste, preference and fashion. Sometimes 2000, if we are taking now 2005 as base year, after 50 years or after 10 years we need to change that base year because taste, fashion, preference, everything will change. These are the criteria for the base year. Okay, why is it essential to have different CPI for different categories of consumers? CPI for different consumer price, CPI means consumer price index, includes three components. Means CPI for industrial workers, CPI for urban non-manual employees, CPI for agricultural laborers. Okay, then the three CPI are calculated on regular basis to get aggregate effect of the change in retail price. Okay, next one, what does a consumer price index for industrial worker measures? Okay, then the consumer price index for industrial workers measures the impact of change in the retail price on the cost of living of industrial workers. Okay, then especially in a country like India, consumer price index for industrial workers is estimated and published by Labor Bureau. Okay, Next one, what is the difference between price index and quantity index? Price index is calculated by two methods, simple aggregative method and simple average price relative method. In the case of quantity index, number is calculated by two methods, weighted average price relative method and weighted aggregative methods. We studied these two methods. Okay. Is the change in any price reflected in a price index number? No change in any price is not reflected in price index number. In fact, only relative change or percent change is the percentage change in the price level is reflected.